Let's make some plant-based, refined, sugar-free candy bars. Welcome back to the Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show, where we make plant-based cooking easy. I'm Jill, and we have got candy bars for you today. Yay! So I know if you're anything like me out there, you've made your New Year's resolution to start eating better in the new year. Great, but if you have a wicked sweet tooth like Jeff and I, it can be a little bit of a challenge when it comes to desserts or sweet treats, right? So we are going to make these amazing little candy bars that are refined sugar-free to help you along with that little temptation. So we're going to start with the cookie part. So this candy bar is kind of a mashup between a Snickers and a Twix because those happen to be my old favorites. So we're going to start with the cookie. So you're going to need your food processor for this. So I've got 3/4 of a cup of almond flour and 3/4 of a cup of rolled oats. These are organic rolled oats. A tablespoon of tahini. That's just going to give it a little bit of a healthy fat along with the almond flour. And we've got 1/3 of a cup of pitted dates, a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda and 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder. And we are just going to blend this until it's really fine and crumbly. And at some point it's going to start sticking together with those dates and the tahini. But if it still stays crumbly, after you have mixed it for a while, I've got a couple tablespoons of water here that you can just drizzle in the top of your food processor while it's going, just until that mixture starts to clump together. You don't want to put too much water in it because then when you roll it out, it's going to be really, really sticky. It's going to be a little sticky anyway, but it won't be too sticky to roll. So I'm just going to get that going. Okay, so you know it's done when you pick it up and you press it together and it sticks together just like that. So it looks like we're pretty good here. All right, so you want to have your oven preheated to 350 degrees because these little cookies are going to get baked. And then you're going to need a baking tray with some parchment paper and a rolling pin. So you're just going to pour it out onto your baking paper here, along with all the rest of this. And if there is a little bit of moisture in the bottom of the food processor, like mine, it always seems to stay a little bit in the bottom. You kind of need to mix that in a little bit with your hands here. Because if you try to press it out with that one clump in there, it's just going to be really, really sticky. So you kind of just mount it up. And we're going to roll this out into a rectangular shape. Should I get all of that in there? Okay. And these little, the little cookie pieces, they're going to be pretty thin. So we're going to roll them out, and it's the depth is probably going to be around, I would say probably 1/4 of an inch. So they're pretty thin because you want that to be kind of a nice snap inside of that candy bar. You want to get them pretty even. And to keep the outsides from even, if you pull up your paper and you just kind of press into the sides so that all the edges aren't really crumbly, and so you have a just nice flat edge to cut. All right, and to make these little candy bars, you're going to need a little candy bar form. So this is mine right here. It has 12 little sections in there, and it's about 1 inch by, it's around 3 inches, so it's just a small candy bar. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking to get 2 this way, and then 6 this way. So now we're gonna cut these just with a regular knife. You could do it with a pizza cutter too, but I would go the lengthwise first, just so we get, that's a nice even half mark there. And then you want to make them pretty narrow because the cells here They're pretty narrow, and you don't really want them touching the edge. So a little less than 1 inch. You could get out your ruler and do this, but I'm just gonna eyeball it a bit. I've made these a few times, so I kind of know how wide they need to be. And you're probably not gonna end up with the same amount of cookie pieces here as in here, which is fine because some of them may break in the process. So it's nice to have a little bit extra here. And you can just eat them because this is my shortbread cookie recipe. All right. So now you just want to separate them just a little bit. You just kind of push them with the knife, just so that when they're baking, the edges all cook pretty evenly. If you don't separate them, then these ones in the middle stay kind of soft. It doesn't need much space, but just so the edges can crisp up. Okay, that's good enough. All right, so 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and they're gonna go in for 15 minutes. All right, before we get on to melting this chocolate, be sure to give this video a like if you're enjoying the show. It really does help it get out there to more viewers. So we will give you a link in the details below for this little mold and for the chocolate too. The chocolate we are using is Santa Barbara's chocolate, and this is an unsweetened. This is just raw cacao. That's all it is. There's no sweeteners, no extra fats or anything. But you can use whatever chocolate chips you like. There's plenty of them at the grocery store that are, you know, they may be sweetened with like coconut sugar, or there are some that are sweetened with dates. Go ahead and use those, but Jeff and I really like the balance of the bitter from these chocolates to the date paste that's going to go in the inside. So if you can hack it, get you some of these unsweetened chocolate. So what I'm doing first, I'm just going to layer a few of these chips into the bottom of the cells, and then we're going to stick them in the oven for about 5 minutes just to lightly melt them so that they will coat the bottom before we put the cookie and the date mixture in there. And this is just an easier way than melting the chocolate to pour in there, which we will have to do for the top a little later. All right, into the oven for 5 minutes. While we're waiting for that, I'd like to share some background on our show. The Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show is crowd-funded, which means these free weekly recipe videos, along with our entire catalog of free printable recipes on our website, plantbasedcookingshow.com, and our Plant-Based Cooking Made Easy cookbook series, are all made possible in part by the generous patronage of our supporting membership community. So if you love our recipes, I invite you to join us on our mission to make plant-based cooking easy, and follow the link in the description to become a supporting member today. There's no denying the plant-based diet is a nutrient powerhouse, but did you know there are a handful of hard-to-get nutrients even well-crafted diets are often lacking? The latest research suggests that complementing your diet with a few specific vitamins, minerals, and omega-3s will help boost your energy and keep you thriving for the long term. That's why my daily health routine includes Complement Essential. Complement Essential contains the 8 critical nutrients lacking from most plant-based diets in dosages optimized specifically for us. As a special discount for our viewers, just use code PLANTBASEDEASY at checkout to save 15% off of your order. All right, once your chocolates are out of the oven, we just need to coat the bottom a little bit. They don't just spread by themselves, so I like to use a fork. I feel like it spreads it pretty evenly then. And I just kind of, you know, score back and forth or scratch back and forth just to get the bottom covered. And then when you're done doing that, we're gonna stick this in the freezer until our cookies are done, just to solidify that chocolate really quick. All right, now we're gonna make the date caramel. So this is a cup of pitted dates, and these are medjool dates. You can also use deglette dates. They'll work just the same. I always feel like medjool dates are a little bit closer to that caramely flavor. 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and 1 tablespoon of nutritional yeast, and that really just brings out a richness of the flavor, kind of towards that buttery flavor that a caramel has. So you're gonna put this in your food processor, and you're just going to keep blending it until it makes a paste. And if you're using the deglette dates, sometimes you might need to add just a little bit of water to get that to be, you know, we're going to put it in a piping bag, so it needs to be able to go through the piping bag. So I'll show you when we get this done. All right, mine looks like it's gonna do fine without adding any water. See how that's nice and creamy looking like that? All right, so now we're gonna put that into a piping bag. You could do it without the piping bag, but it's really kind of hard to get it down into those little narrow cells. So this really works great. And I use my piping bag. This is a really old piping bag, and I just use the cutoff end. I don't even use a tip. And you could do that with a Ziploc bag. You could put it in there and then just trim one of the corners off. That works really well, or even a rolled piece of parchment paper will work. All right, so there we have our caramel element. We've got our cookies out of the oven. They're just cooling a little bit, and now it's on to the chocolate that we're gonna drizzle over the top. And let me show you how to do that. Okay, we're gonna assemble these actually before we melt that chocolate, because at the end you really want that chocolate to stay liquid so we can pour it over. So our cookies are here, our date paste mixture is here, and then we have some peanuts. These are just dry roasted peanuts that we're gonna stick in there. So we're gonna stick a cookie piece in each cell. And even at this point, like mine, there's a couple that are a little too long. You can just simply push your knife down onto them, and it cuts pretty easily still without crumbling. Okay, so now we're gonna put down our date layer. And you want a pretty good glob of date paste in there because, you know, this is the only sweetness we're getting. There's a teeny bit of sweetness from the cookie, but it's mainly coming from here. And you just kind of have to guesstimate as you go to how much, you know, you can put on each one so that you make sure you get your 12 covered. So I'm just going to show you a couple. So you do that, and then you're going to put your peanuts on top. And it's up to you how many you want to do, but I just, you know, I do a few so that it's like you get a peanut in each bite. So 5 or 6 in there. All right, I'm gonna finish assembling these and then we'll get on to melting our chocolate. All right, so now to our chocolate. So I put the remaining, I started out with a full cup of chocolate chips and I used some for the bottom, like you remember. And then I just put the rest in a little measuring cup or a heat-proof glass, and I put it into a double boiler or just down in a pan of water. And you just gently heat that until it's melty in the liquid form, just like this. Super simple. And then we're just gonna slowly pour it over your candy bars. And you can kind of go back and forth just to make sure that it gets down over the edges. And it kind of depends on how chocolatey you want your candy bar to be. I like just kind of a lighter coating of them on each candy bar because I like to taste each element. So just gently pour. And if you run out of chocolate, you know, you can always melt more chocolate. All right, I'm gonna finish the rest of these and then I'm gonna stick them back in the freezer for about 10 minutes to solidify them so that we can take a taste. And then after that, you just wanna keep them in an airproof container in your fridge. All right, they are done in the freezer, so we're just gonna pop a couple out here. Oh, so cute, so cute. But it's all about that taste, right? Mmm, look at that. Mmm, so good. You are going to love it. Come on back next week for another great recipe.